Yeah, I think we're good. How's everybody doing? I really like that you can set up the YouTube streams to go to YouTube before you actually click them to go live. All right, let's see here. So we got to do, I think, sprite sheets today. I think that's going to be the first thing. Yesterday we got to a point where we have some physics. So this little thing, this is actually a ball, but it's sprited as a square. But we fixed the rotation so that it doesn't rotate, which is kind of cool. The jump is super slow, and the left and right movement works, but the speed is uncapped. So, like, if you go too fast, it'll just drag forever. I really like the kind of feeling of it in the smaller center area. But if it goes too far and you go too fast, then you like fly off the stage. The other thing we have here is the collision detection between the, I guess, circle box and the ground. So we do need to zoom the camera like in so that the ground is somewhere near the ground and not in the middle of the screen, I think. So yeah, let's start out with the sprite sheet stuff. I'm pretty sure that'll look weird because I don't have the sprite sheet flipped. I only have it facing in a single direction. Let's do... I just created the sprite sheet before we went live, so hopefully this will work. Where'd that parenthesis go? Or that quote mark go? That was weird. I guess it doesn't need it, so it doesn't. Okay, let's take a look at this. This is wow, that looks actually really bad because it's in the terminal. Let's see. Let's use the Mac OS open so that it opens in preview. That's kind of hilarious that it opens in the terminal like that. That's a new shell feature, I think. It just doesn't have enough pixels to show it. So this is the party corgi. This is the sort of user character model that we're going to use for the game, which we are calling Super Corgo. It's only facing left, I'm realizing now. So it may be awkward because we may be running backwards. But we do have... Okay, I'm already in the issue. On the Super Corgo GitHub, we have a bunch of issues for stuff that we need to get done at some point. Like the max speed is uncapped, like I was just talking about. The jump feels really sluggish. If you were watching me when I played it earlier, it kind of like floats high in the air and then like slowly comes down like a helium balloon kind of vibe. So we need to make that a little faster. I think we can do that by adjusting the mass in the physics modeling. Only a single jump should be possible. So I have some code here that I think will help us with that. We basically need to test if the player is in contact with like the ground or something else like that. And if they are, then we let them jump. And if they're not, then we don't let them jump. So we need to put that into the spot where we're doing keyboard control. Or we can fire off events and handle the events. That would be interesting too. But okay, so floor of level should be at floor of camera. I think we just move the camera around for that. We'll go into Bevy, find some of the camera 2D structs, the orthographic camera structs, and just modify them a bit until the floor is, you know, kind of down at the bottom. The player sprite is what we're about to do. And then we're going to start building like the level. We're going to start building like multiple floors as the kind of game mechanic kind of stuff. So I'm just going to place a couple floors. Maybe I'll place a couple like platform floors and then put some gaps in the ground. And then in the gaps, we need to like have collision detection so that like the player kind of resets when they hit the bottom of one of the gaps. So maybe we set like like an ultimate floor, like we have the floor, but then like something like 100 pixels below that is like the death floor. And if you go that low, then you reset. We haven't implemented any like extra game mechanics like lives or health or anything like that, so not worried about that yet. But if you hit the void, then you reset. Hey, I don't know how to pronounce that. Angel on Fira? Angel on Fira? I've seen you around. I've seen your name. I think you maintain some of the gaming libraries in the Rust ecosystem. So that's cool. That's dope. Thank you for that work. Yeah, so let's do sprite sheet. Let me bump this over. So Bevy has an example that is like a sprite sheet. I don't quite know if I set up my sprite sheet correctly, but it is using the asset server to load a PNG, and it looks like it wants it to be a grid. So we're going to be using a grid. I think these are going to be pixels like X, Y for each square. So we'll figure that out. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of copy some of this code in. Actually, this sprite sheet bundle just needs to be associated with the sprite that we already have. So let's go take a look at the sprite sheet bundle. This texture atlas thing is also the from grid that we need. But the sprite sheet bundle of components for drawing a single sprite from a sprite sheet. Yep. So I wonder if this just replaces our sprite bundle. It looks like it does. So let's just do that. Timer from seconds. So we insert a timer component. I don't think we have any special timer component, so it's just like the Bevy timer component. And then this is animating the sprite. So we'll have a separate system to do the actual sprite animation. Looks like we can scale it. So my assumption is that this party corgi is super high res compared to what we need it to be. So we're gonna have to like scale it down or something like that. But let's take this and throw it into our code, right where we have our other sprite. So I'm just going to comment this out for now in case we need to get back to it. I don't want spawn bundle because spawn bundle creates a new entity. I want insert bundle because I want to add these components to the player, or to the box, I guess. And then these all need to happen. So we'll put these kind of a little above. Our colliders and stuff are all set up. I'm not too worried about keeping this code clean yet. I'm just kind of like jumping everything in the setup physics function, which is kind of, you know, this isn't physics. We do need the asset server. The asset server is kind of like a resource database for anything that we might need to do with like fonts and sprites and things like that, and colors. So that overall looks like it'll work. It won't find this because this isn't in the right place. Let's get rid of most of this path. I only have one sprite, so I don't have like idling and then running and then other stuff. I only have running. I do more outreach blog kind of stuff. Only a mid-level Rust stuff. Oh, that's cool. I don't know what you consider mid-level. So, you know, some people are like, I'm mid-level, and then they're just like really good at everything. forget what that other phenomenon is, where like if you don't know anything, you think you know everything, and then when you know everything, you like think that you're like, oh no, there's people that know so much more than I do. What do we call this? Party corgi. Let's see. Let's move party corgi sprites. I think this is the one that we need. Maker assets. Textures is what that was called. Why not? And then we'll move this party corgi sprites into assets textures. And then I think we can remove the other one. The other one is kind of a failed attempt. I tried to find a couple different sprite tools before the stream started, and all of the free ones were creating a grid with like a gap in it. So the party corgi has like 12 states, right? 12 sprites or whatever. And like sprite number 6 was just like moved over to the like position 7. So instead of having like 3 rows of 4, it had like 4 rows of like 4, 3, 4, and 1. And it was super awkward. It was weird. So hopefully we won't have to deal with anything like that anymore. Okay, so that should get us, I believe, the sprite on the page. We're not animating it yet, which I'm not too worried about for the moment. Dunning-Kruger effect, yes, that's it. I use Rust for programming competitions quite well, but I'm pretty bad when it comes to work with structs, trace, and stuff like that. What do you do for programming competitions if you're not using like structs and traits and stuff? I guess you are using them just like at a different kind of, or in a different way. Okay, so it looks like we have something happening. We have completely replaced the rendering of our square with nothing. So let's try to get this animate sprite system thing working. I think that if it couldn't load that asset, it would just fail. Let's make sure that there's some kind of asset server load. And then we add it. All right, let's just get this system in here. .system. So anything in Bevy needs to be, any function that you write can be a system, but you have to call .system on it, which I believe is added by an extension trait from the Bevy prelude, which turns into a thing that this add system function can take. I also don't know what the delay is on the YouTube stream, so if I say something and I'm super delayed, sorry about that. Animate sprite system. So this animate sprite system is taking a time. It's taking the texture atlases. So all of them that are in our app, we only have one right now, so it doesn't really matter. Then we query for reference to a timer, the texture atlas sprite, and a handle to the texture atlas. So the handle to the texture atlas is like an ID, almost like an arc or something, but it's an ID pointing to a texture atlas. So like in JavaScript or something, you might have an object and like you might have a key and a value, but you wouldn't know what the value was. Like it would just be like this giant object and you'd be like, I don't know. It's some data in an object. This makes sure that we're pointing like an ID at a texture atlas. 10 to 20 seconds is a lot. Also, the stream is great. I've never watched anyone else do Bevy, so that's super cool. Nice. Can pretty much solve most problems with just data structures and iterators, mostly advent of code, which doesn't require much thought in how you're structuring your program. Yeah, that's fair. I think that the advent of code problems orient themselves towards knowledge of like all of those kind of mathematical algorithms and things on some level. Like the first, I don't know, I want to say like the first 10 to 15 problems each year are like solvable without knowing. And then like problem 16 or something like that is like, if you don't know the Chinese remainder algorithm, then you're not going to get this one well. Let's see. Okay, so what this is doing is every time the timer ticks, which, did we set up the timer in the other one? No, I just kind of copied some code in. From seconds, so every 0.1 seconds, I assume this is going to tick to the next timer. So every time the timer ticks, this system runs a lot more often than 0.1 seconds, so we have to check. Every time the timer ticks, then if the timer is finished, we get the texture atlas. We're gonna need to rename these because like this is just a random texture atlas variable. The sprite index, I guess this is operating on all of them, isn't it? So they all run at 0.1 seconds. Sprite index is +1 as usize. This has got to be, what is sprite index then? That's not going to tell me. Oh well, doesn't matter. Figure it out later. Sprite index as usize +1 mod texture atlas textures.length. So yeah, so we just bump the index up one. Unfortunately, I think that that's not currently working for us. I wonder if the texture animation system is necessary for that sprite to work. It does not. Okay, so our thing is still there. Like you can still see the ball altitude on the left here, going up and down, but we don't have a party corgi visible, which is not great. So let's go back and look at the sprite sheet bundle. I wonder if it's like scaled up massively or something like that. Because I think the sprite is pretty big compared to the screen that we're rendering right now. That doesn't seem to be it. From scale 1. Let's do like 0.2 or something. Just to give it a whirl. I have a feeling that it's not even rendering at all. So see whether they're doing here. Did I change that name to be the actual name? Is that one of my problems here? Yes. Okay, so this doesn't fail if it doesn't find the texture. I really need that to fail if it doesn't find the texture. Okay. Asset server.load. I thought load returned a result. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I was wrong about that. Asset server load. It returns a handle. Okay. Can we like ensure that this handle exists? I mean, like you can't really play the game if you can't see the character, so. Make strong. Make strong sounds like kind of maybe what we want. In any case, the reason that we can't see it is because it's not picking up that PNG. That's a kind of a frustrating bug, and I'm kind of upset that that doesn't return a result for the handle. Or at least give me a way that's really obvious to be like, hey, make sure that this texture exists. Let's cd into this directory. Party corgi sprites. We'll just do that. We'll get rid of cars. Do party corgi sprites. The other thing is that the grid sizing is going to be wrong for sure. So if the sprite comes in and we're like picking like the space between the corgi's legs or something to show, it definitely won't show. Oh, okay. So there's a thing happening there. I I don't know. There's some pixels there. Let's go. Probably not 24 by 24. Let's go find out what the size of this is actually. This is 1724 by 1385. So what is this? Over 4. It's really going to make me Google for whatever. That seems... I feel like I'm having a brain fart right now. It's literally like I'm literally just trying to do a little bit of... Why is that not working? I'm going to open a calculator. $431. Okay, 431. That was really weird, right? Like, how do we clear this? Was this... I mean, I haven't used a skeuomorphic calculator in so long. 461.6. 0.6. I don't know. That seems really like that should be rounded out. Okay, let's go look at from grid and see how many grid elements. Texture handles. Tile size, columns, and rows. Okay, so columns 4, rows 3. I don't think I did it like I did it without spaces to start though. Like, okay, so I did this, right? And I did over 4. And for some reason it didn't show me the calculator. It showed me Google search results. Did I like add a space before it or something? I don't know. I did something weird. And let's hope that we get a corgi running along our little game here. I poured my coffee super strong today. Okay, so that is not quite what I want. It's like it looks like it's going in the wrong direction. Did I mess up the I messed something up, but like the question is, what did I mess up? That's definitely not it. Okay, so this was much closer. Let's take another look at this. Would it make more sense to add the division inline for that? Yes, it would. You are absolutely correct. It bugs me a little bit that this is like... Is this the total size? No, this is the grid size. This is the grid size. This is going to yell at me too, isn't it? I'm just not having good division day today. Unknown start of token. I feel like my brain is breaking. This is doing integer division, right? So I need to do something like this. Yikes. What is not mathing well today? Hairspace? When did I type a hairspace? Thank you, Rust compiler, because that would have never been something that I thought of. You think the sprite sheet has some overlap on the frames because it's in 3 rows? That's entirely possible. I think I removed the padding, and I should probably add it back. So that's our corgi. Copied a symbol that is rejected. Yes, it copied a hairspace. I don't know why it copied a hairspace. I don't know why a hairspace is the thing that's like when you click in here and I go like this. I don't know why this is a hairspace right there. But thank you, Rust compiler, for saving me from myself. I don't think I have any padding on this, so maybe I need to add some padding. It is jumping though. What orientation is this like? Okay, let me bring up the actual like GIF here. Network, home, ending, party corgi, and then as gallery. So that's what it's supposed to look like. That is not what it's doing. I think it's because it laid it out wrong. So if we look at this, if this is going left to right, top to bottom, it'll go here, 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 here. And I think these two eyes closed are supposed to be right next to each other. So for some reason, the sprite sheet is out of order. It's also running really fast, I think. So let's slow it down to like 0.2 seconds, maybe. And I'm going to recreate the sprite sheet quickly. Which is on my other monitor. Which I think I can also bring up anyway, so. Let's see. Oh, I actually don't have it on this scene. Okay. No, I just want to create sprite sheets. Add sprites. Step 0 through 11, add. No, I don't want to try pro features. These are all in the wrong order. Does it give me names? 0, 2. Oh, it goes top to bottom in a column. Oh, there we go. Okay. I hit a button. It works now. Let me publish the sprite sheet. Into the pass-through folder. Yada, yada. Okay. And we're back. So now I should be able to go into, yeah, as columns. Pass through party corgi sprite sheet. What is that? Oh man. Because I'm using the free version, it's like you need to purchase this. That's awful. I can't even use it to test? Come on. In any case, I lined them up correctly. I must have used like a pro feature or something like that. I'll have to figure that out later and buy the software. It's the first time I've ever downloaded and used Texture Packer or whatever it is. Sprites.png into, I'm just going to overwrite this one, then cargo run. That's what I get for downloading software like the second before I went live and trying to use it. Okay, so it's running backwards now. Okay, so clearly there are problems here. It's facing the wrong direction. It's running backwards. And I need to pay for the software that I just downloaded because apparently I used a pro feature or something like that, and it's mad at me. So I will pay for the software later off stream, and then I will fix the sprite now that it is actually working, and we will move on to something else because I feel like me sitting here paying for software is not a leave it in as a feature. Ooh, that should be like the sprite that's used when you like, I don't know, get stung by something or something like that. I don't know. It'll be something. Okay, I'm gonna call this like kind of done. Corgis be like that. They do how they do. Very stubborn. I'm happy to get that working though. Now that we actually have like not a little box. And it's actually not as big as I thought it was going to be, I guess. Although we probably do need to make it a little smaller. I'm also not sure where the collision is on this anymore. So let's try to make the collision a little bit more accurate, I suppose. Where's our collider for the corgi? And then our collider for the corgi can be like this. 50. 50 does not tell me much. Radius of 50, so it's 100. So 100 would not match any of these numbers down here, which are all like 400. Okay, I'm gonna have to figure out that at some point. This is a cuboid, that makes sense. What if I just replace it with a cuboid? Shape, collider, ball. Let's not do a ball, let's do shape, collider, cuboid. And instead of cuboid, let's do like 400 by like 400 or something. Which is supposed to be the size of the sprite. TBD on whether that's actually the size of the sprite or not. Also, like, I need to figure out some, so it's way bigger than the sprite. So like 100 by 100 was more accurate, I think, or like 100 by something else. I'll have to figure out what the actual dimensions here refer to. Because like a ball with a radius of 50 doesn't feel like it should match a 400 pixel sprite. But maybe it should. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. The 100 is definitely not working. Let's go back to the 50. I'd recommend using ASE sprites for pixel sheet sprites. It's a pixel art program, but it works perfectly for editing simple animation and exporting the property, although it costs $20. Okay, cool. I will write that down as a note, and I will look at that one. Let's see, ASEPRIT. Thank you for the recommendation. I forget what I was using, texture loader or texture packer or something like that. Was the thing, which I mean like works. I just downloaded it 5 minutes ago before the stream, so it doesn't do exactly what I'm expecting. Okay, so let's do, which one do we do next? This is gonna be oh, let me add a screenshot to this so that I can track it. The texture loading in here, I feel like I need some kind of loading indicator. Corgi is backwards and running in reverse, but it works. Let's do the floor level because I think moving the camera could be useful before we get into the like mass adjustments. Let's go check out the orthographic camera bundle. So this is the camera we're using for all the 2D elements. Let's see, camera, projection matrix, window, depth calculation. I feel like to do a side scroll, we're gonna actually have to move the camera at some point, which we can do via transform. I guess let's start with transform. I think transform starts at 0, 0, 0. So let's start thinking about that. So this bar is at halfway up the screen. One thing that's going to be interesting is that if I try to take that bar down to the bottom of the screen, like the bottom of the screen for a window height of this is different than the bottom of the screen for the window height of this. Maybe I just punt on all of that. Is there a way I can move it up like 50% of the window height or something like that pretty easily? Molvac, look at. Orthographic projection. Well, that's exceedingly obvious as to what that means. Left, right, bottom, top, near, far, window origin, scaling mode, scale, depth calculation. One of the problems is I don't really know what orthographic means. Making it 2D. Okay, that's not super helpful. So left, right, bottom, top is probably skewing the projection. So like if we increased left, it would push in the left side closer or something like that. So if we wanted to like tilt the whole thing backwards or like at an angle and make it look like it was kind of like 2.5D top down or something. I don't know. So that doesn't seem like what we want. I wonder if Bevy has an example of like dropping the floor in their repo. (2D) sprites, mesh, sprite flipping, sprite flipping. Flip the logo to the left and don't flip it. Can we just do that? Is that going to work? Where's our sprite sheet bundle? Does the sprite sheet bundle have a flip? Nope. Flip X. Haha, it does. Hey, Alan, how's it going? Texture Atlas sprite. What field was that in? Sprite. Texture Atlas sprite. New U32. That's okay. That's not what I want. Do I need to give it an ID? Is that the problem there? Color index flip X. Let's just do default, not asset server, default. And then flip X true. Why is this all complaining? Oh, because I don't have a comma down here. That's where Rust saves me so often. Tell me I've already filled out all the fields and that's why it's yelling at me now. Oh, comma after the base direct. Yeah, sure. So hopefully the corgi should be facing the other way. I still think it'll be running backwards, even if this works. Yeah, it's still running backwards, but now it's facing the right direction. There's probably no way to get it to read in reverse, right? I probably just have to set up the sprite correctly. Main pass feels like rendering. Mesh, main pass, render pipelines, visible, draw. Set index buffer. Oh, you know what the problem could be? You know what I could do? This is probably the wrong way to solve this, but if we go to the index that we're setting for which, there's our animate sprite system. Sprite.index. It wants to mod it over this, but if we do this instead, hopefully we don't get an out of bounds error and I don't have to add one to that. But this will run it in reverse, I think. How are you doing today, Alan? Now we have a flashing corgi, which is, yeah, exactly what we wanted. The length. where does mod fall in like the operations? Textures.length. Oh, the sprite index isn't what I thought it was, is it? Okay, so sprite index. I still think sprite index actually is the thing that I think it is. I think I just calculated it wrong. Doing good. Loving blinking Corgi. We'll see. Hopefully Corgi will not blink in a second. Texture atlases get texture atlas handle. So this is the pointer to the actual thing. So dot textures dot length, I believe, will give us the length of the whatever it's called, the amount of sprites that we have in our sprite sheet. The sprite.index plus 1 will give us the index that we're supposed to be at. So if I mod this, that gives me the sprite index that we're currently at. And if I subtract that from the total length, then we should get the sprite running in reverse, right? Which would be the right ordering for us at the moment. But I think it just blinked last time I did this. So I think that I'm doing something wrong. Sprite index plus 1 mod the length of the textures will give us like a number 0 through 11. Which should, right? Shouldn't that? Anyway, maybe that's something for me to figure out later. Do a little bit of math off stream or something. That does still sound right to me, though. So that'll log me out the sprite index and the new sprite index. What's the difference between sprite index and textures atlas? Textures atlas is the so we have a sprite sheet basically, right? So we have a thing of 12 still running backwards. We have a thing of 12 sprites, right? So if I open the sprite sheet here, we have this right now. So it's going from top left to bottom right, I think, and that's in the wrong ordering. So really the answer here is to flip the sprite sheet. I just thought I could do something quickly where Texture Atlas is kind of like the resource that contains all of those sprites and all of the grid points. Textures is the number of those sprites that exist in the sprite sheet because we chopped it up into those cells. And then sprite.index is the current index. So like which one is the current one that we're showing. So the calculation I think we were doing was correct. Actually. At least it looks right to me. Ooh, 12. 12 is invalid though. I think it can only go to 11. So I think we need to subtract 1 from it. So if we did this, maybe that will stop it from flashing. Oh, no, I didn't want to open the corgis. Cargo run. No rules expected this in a macro call because I didn't take out the half-written code. Okay, so for the camera part, I don't see any easy way to just like okay, that corgi, I'm just gonna fix the sprite sheet later. I'm not gonna do this like weird math thing. Okay, so the camera, I don't see how we can easily move the camera such that the window size, if it changes, keeps everything where it needs to be, right? So like, it's a backwards running corgi. I could draw this line lower. I could move the camera a number of pixels up, but I don't think that there's a world in which like this would work easily. Like there's no media query kind of thing here, right? So there's no way for me to be like show the camera at some percentage. So I think I just need to lock the size of the window maybe. Like maybe I lock it to the aspect ratio of 16:9 or something like that. And then you just can't move it like this. And then we move from there. Moonwalking corgi. It's accurate, actually. Actually, it's like a helium-filled corgi. So let's take a look at the window. I didn't finish looking through here yet. Text2D, Texture Atlas. I looked at Texture Atlas already. Many sprites. Interesting though. Is there any camera folder? No. UI window. Window is probably going to be interesting. Clear color we already have. Multiple windows, scale factor override, Windows settings. Let's check out Windows settings. Width, height, VSync. So we have a window descriptor already, right? Because I'm already running the clear color stuff. No, the clear color stuff is not part of the window descriptor. So let's get a window descriptor in here so we can make some modifications to kind of like the way that everything works. I don't want I am a window. I want Super Corgo. I keep wanting to call it like Super Corgo run. I don't know why. Let's do, what's the 1200? It's like 12 something by 700. 1280 by 700. I just want it to fit on the screen for the moment. 1920 by 1200. Nope, not what I want. I want 720p. 1280 by 720. It's so long since I've used that I don't even remember what it. 1280 720. I don't even have anything that's 720 anymore. Everything's at least 1080. You see, there's enough of a delay in the stream where I have time to look it up. I need to figure out how to get that stream delay gone for next time. Okay, so can we lock it like that? Or is the operating system still going to be like, oh, you can make it whatever you want? So it'll still let us do whatever we want with it. So there's probably going to be no way to lock it. I don't know how to get that down to like something that that's the sprite sheet stuff. This is the window. Huh. So there's probably no way to get this to lock to a specific aspect ratio then, which is interesting. Add a swap chain node for our new window. What is the swap chain? It would be cool to have like a bunch of windows and have the corgi like jump through the windows. You'd have like the illusion of safety. So the theme for the game jam is like the illusion of safety or something like that. And it would be really funny if like the game looked like it broke and then you jumped from like you ran out of the first window and another window popped up. That would be kind of fun. You sat down and you're like, I'm just gonna play a 2D side scroller, and then like it keeps popping up windows on your monitor, and the old window like breaks and gets removed, or just gets left there. That'd be kind of hilarious, actually. So yeah, I don't think there's any way to do that window kind of thing. Like comic book panel jumps, exactly. Yes. Where like the old windows are like cracking and breaking and you have to like keep running and like that's the level. I think that's a little bit beyond my 1 week game uh kind of thing. If I did that this week, I would have to spend all week figuring out how to get it to jump from window to window. Okay, so getting the floor at the camera at the bottom of the window is going to be harder than I thought it was going to be. So maybe we just leave that for the moment. We can do the camera should follow player, right? So we can kind of like sync the two transforms. Let's try to do that. That seems a little bit like, let me commit the other stuff first. Push that up if anybody feels like taking a look at that. So I think that the position of the corgi and the position of the camera we could sync. And that would be a good first step. And then I think that we can get into more. I think my headphones are like breaking on the top here. I need to get a new set. Let's add a new system here. We'll add a new system and it'll be sync player or side scroll. Let's just name it side scroll. FN side scroll. We're gonna have to query for the camera. Well, it'll be a reference to the camera, but It'll be the camera. I don't even know if that's going to compile. I don't know if that's the right thing. Is a bevy camera what we want to be querying for? Camera, name, window. Nope, camera is not what we want to. Camera bundle. The orthographic camera bundle includes the camera component. So let's do camera and transform, and that should get us the thing. We want a mutable transform. So this is going to have to be mutable. We don't have this pulled in. I think that's a component. Bevy doesn't like that though. Run it and see what our problem is. Expected bool found struct mute. Expected bool. Oh, because it's not a tuple. Because if you have two things here, so I have a camera and a transform, the second one has to be a filter instead of like a query for a singular entity kind of thing. So I'm not filtering this because there will only ever be one camera. So let cam equal camera dot single mute, which I think expect there to only be one camera ever. That's actually not true if we ever add UI, but we can deal with that later. Like once we add like lives and I don't know, coins and hearts and whatever, or any kind of score, all of that will show up in the UI camera. So we also need a query for the player. Did I put a player component on the Corgi? I feel like I did. I did put a player component on the Corgi, which we can query there. So let's do player query. We'll do mute transform. We don't need this to be a tuple, actually. We're going to do nmute transform with player, which will be our filter. So let player equals, and we're just shadowing the variables here. So player equals player dot single mute. I'd expect there to only be one player. So just setting up a couple invariants to make it easier to develop later in case anything goes wrong. Cam.transform.translation.x. So we're going to have to dereference this to set it, and then we're going to do it to the player. Oh, the player actually is already the transform. Let's do transform with camera for the other one too. And this will be camera transform. We'll do camera transform translation.x equals player transform translation.x. And if I haven't messed it up, F32 cannot be dereferenced. But that's not going to work either. So I'm going to have to wrap that. Cannot borrow is mutable. Ah, right. Because I did this. And we don't actually need to make the player mutable. So that will be transform reference with player, and this will be single and not single mute, which will allow some of our other systems to run in parallel because we no longer need access to a mutable transform on the player. And then we get an error or a panic because we're accessing two transforms here, I believe. So because we're accessing two transforms here, this actually needs to be a query set, even though we're filtering. So we'll do query, and it'll be in a query set. And this will be mute queries. Hey, Carlos, how's it going? Query set needs to be imported or unused parameter. That doesn't seem right. Oh, right, because this needs to be a tuple now. Q0 mute, I believe, is the function. And this is going to be Q1. And these are both going to be queries. Do I need the whole thing to be mutable if I do this? I do. What are you up to, Carlos? Thanks for stopping by. Immutable borrow occurs here. Occurs. Let's stick this here. Let's do that maybe. And we'll do they both need to be mute? I mean, this isn't okay. Cannot borrow queries as immutable because it also borrows as mutable. Okay, that makes sense. I thought I could borrow pieces of the tuple. Why can I not borrow pieces of the tuple? I thought I could do that. It's going to yell at me if I don't make that mutable. Change this to be mutable, mute queries. Yes, I know that that needs to be mutable. I'm just trying to get more error messages. What did I do wrong? Okay, so we've got this query where we need a mutable transform and a reference to a transform. Hey Chris, currently going through the proc macro workshop. Been using Rust for a couple years, but never got into proc macros. Yeah, proc macros are pretty intense. I've checked the sin? No, what's it called? Was it sin? I don't think it's sin. Anyway, the libraries for writing macros are wild. They're very intense. What's the theme for the game jam? The illusion of security. I haven't actually worked the theme into my game yet. I'm hoping to do that in maybe a couple days. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to work it in. I'll figure it out. We'll see. Right now I'm battling some mutability issues. So I've got this query set here that takes a mutable transform here and a mutable transform, or not a non-mutable transform here. Because it queries the same type twice, I need to stick them into a query set. Oh right, yeah, we do have the moonwalking corgi. Maybe a query for all of the transforms then instead. Maybe I do this. And then I do I don't think this is going to work. Mute transforms query and mute transform And then we get the player maybe instead, which this doesn't need to be a query set anymore. So if we get the player and we get the camera, this doesn't need to be mutable. This can be camera. This can be player. Then we have these, and then we can do player dot single dot expect. This will give us the. Do I need to get the entity here? Might need to get the entity on both of these. I need to look up the entity in the other query. So basically I'm going to make this query for the camera. I'm going to make this query for the player without messing up my code. And then I'm going to have this other query that has the set of all transforms. And I'm going to pull the camera transform and the player transform out of this query's transforms query. Hello. If you have a transforms only query, you can use the entities to get the transform data using the get component or mute. Yes, exactly. I think the stream is on a delay. I really appreciate you pointing that out. But in 10 to 20 seconds, you will figure out that that is actually what I ended up doing. That stream delay is rough. I need to figure out how to fix that. Okay, camera. Neither of these are those anymore. Let's do camera.single. And then we do transforms.get mute camera.0. I think I need to dereference this. Let player transform equal transforms.get. Get what am I doing here? Get component? No, or just get. I guess I need to get mute either way, right? It's already mutable. It's not going to really matter. And then I dereference this to be able to point at that. Local variable. Did I name that play transform? Player transform. No field translation on result. So both of these need to exist. F32 cannot be dereferenced. Where's my... Did I just accidentally? Yeah, I did. So I think I need to do a dereference on the camera transform, right? Now I know how my threads feels like. So Bevy get component. I don't know that I've used that one necessarily before. Get component. Get a reference to the entity's component of the given type. This will fail if the entity does not have the given component type. Or if the given component type does not match the query. And it's yelling me because cannot infer type for type parameter T. So now I'm running into the same problem that I had before, where I'm pulling out one as mutable and one as not, which feels strange. Oh, whoops. That needs to be mutable. This does not though. So I have two components from the mutable query. I can't borrow transforms as immutable because it was also borrowed as mutable. Hmm. How do I solve this? Mutable borrow. I understand that it's being borrowed as mutable because I'm getting one of its elements as mutable. And I understand that it's being borrowed as immutable because I'm getting one of its elements as immutable. And camera doesn't need to be mute, so we'll get rid of that. Can't make that a transform. I could try to clone it. That would be kind of weird, right? But if I clone the transform, then we should get rid of the... So this is a transform. You can borrow them both as immutable, do calculations, then borrow mutably and apply the results. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Makes more sense than what I was trying to do, which is just like straight up take both of them and be like, I'm gonna do stuff now. No entities, no player. Oh, no player because that sprite doesn't load in fast enough? Is that what's happening there? So instead of... Was that happening in this one? In the side scroll? 186? Yes. Let's do if let okay player. I think it's okay, right? The result. Rust borrow rules are annoying at times. Yeah, I mean, like, it makes sense, right? No entities. No entities is the result of the... query single error. Right. But when I do single, I get a result, right? Single result, yes. So if let okay player equal player dot single, then we continue with everything else. Because it doesn't actually matter that there's only a single player. It doesn't matter if there's no player, right? If there's no player, then the camera can't move. So we get to just do whatever we want there. Or do nothing, I guess. because there's no player right now, right? And then the player kind of spawns in. So this is not setting the camera. But at the cost of no sag falls, I'm happy to sell my sanity while writing code. Yes, I will say that Rust makes me like feel very comfortable. In that I'm not going to like mess something like that up. And I will trade that for sure. I will trade that every single time. Okay, so let's see if this is... I might have made my query wrong here. Okay, no player, no player, no player, no player. Still no player, even though the corgi is showing on screen. So I did something wrong. How? How is there no player if I'm inserting the player component on the rigid body? Are there multiple players? Is that my problem? Player.iter dot collect into whatever. I don't know, collect into something. No, you're not going to let me do that. Rust, why? Player cannot be formatted using debug. That's fine. We can fix that. It's a struct with no fields. Vec player cannot be built from entity player. Okay, that makes sense. We don't really need the entity, but we'll put it in here. So let's see if this works. I'm questioning why there's no player when the component is inserted. There is definitely no results for that query. Maybe I should be filtering here instead. Now it's mad at me. Lifetime static to the type of player. Right, because with takes the actual component type and not the actual reference. Right, I can't collect that anymore. No field 0. Now I actually need to change my code because I fixed it. Okay, player. And then this is just entity. It's nice that I can like rely on Rust to be like, hey, you need to change this other stuff before you continue. Because like I definitely would have just run that code. Okay, still nothing. That's strange. Why am I not getting... Thank you. Appreciate that. Oof. There we go. Okay, now we has player. And now it works. Jumps into the void. Eventually this corgi is... Wow, that corgi is probably going a little bit too fast at that point, yeah? I don't know. Okay, cool. Thank you for pointing that out, Rusty. I appreciate that. I probably would have not realized that for quite a while. Let's make this with camera because we don't actually need the camera itself. Okay, so we've got side scrolling going. It's not the best side scrolling ever, but it is side scrolling. So now that we have side scrolling going, let's try to like make a couple platforms or something. I think one thing that I'm gonna need to do if I want to continue with this like level creation, is I'm gonna need some way to create levels that is not like just a bunch of code. Because right now what I'm doing is I'm gonna basically copy and paste this other one. So I'm gonna copy and paste the floor wherever that is. That's okay, that's an accurate floor size now. So ground number 2. And let's put this sprite transform from XYZ, and we'll put this at like, I think we can jump 500 blocks right now, and we'll do Y like 200 and Z, I think Z0 is fine, right? Z1 maybe. We don't have anything else on the screen, so unless it goes behind the window. Also, caffeinated sparkling water, amazing. Oh, I need to get rid of those debugs too. Okay, so if we run this way and we jump, the jump happens so slowly as to not be able to get to the platform. But there is a platform. I think fixing the jump mechanic is going to be the next thing, now that we have 2 platforms. Where are these debugs? Get rid of has player. Okay, so if we do a slower jump, get up, get up. We can still triple and quad jump, so. I just wanted to land on this and make sure that we can. Oh, it's still going out. I jumped way too high. Okay, let's try this again. I really need to change the jump mechanics because the jump mechanics are not great. Okay, so let's do jump, 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 This is actually a game about floating corgis. That's the... Come on. Okay, so the collider isn't working? Is that what's going on here? So we're up high enough. And we are landing. And we're going straight through it. Okay. You know what I think I did? I think that I think it's in a different position than I think it is. Where is the second ground here? Where's the platform? The ball, ground number 2. So this is just offsetting the sprite. It's not actually offsetting the collider. So I think the collider... Let's go check out the collider bundle from Rapier. Bevy, Rapier, 2D. Collider bundle. Collider position. And isometry. That is not what I was hoping to see. So I've moved the sprite way off to the side. I thought that that would move everything because I'm pretty sure that's the only transform component on here right now, because the collider would be... But I don't think that that's working. So here's the original collider. If I put the corgi over, and hopefully the corgi falls. Corgi is falling. It doesn't do that. Does it hit? Doesn't hit anything else. I don't think the collider is in any position right now. So the sprite loads in. I don't think the collider is above this either. Let me get rid of the original collider. And then there's the off chance that the collider is just sitting in the exact same spot as the original one, because the sizing is the same. This like collider position type doesn't look that fun. Yes. Okay. So the collider is in the exact same position. I have moved the sprite, but not the collider. So how do I get them both to move? This is like the most complicated way to explain, like, this is where something is on the screen. It's a direct isometry, i.e. a rotation followed by a translation, aka a rigid body motion. This is also known as an element of a special Euclidean group. Okay. I feel like I jumped directly into like the deep understanding of what the physics engine is doing, and I don't need that. I just need to put it in a different spot. Let's look up the... Let's look at the docs and see if it throws us some help here. Isometries. An isometry represents rotation followed by a translation. This might actually be a good thing when we get to more advanced stuff and we start trying to like create angled platforms or something like that. So let's start with this. There's a different crate to convert between each version of Glam. Okay. This feature is already enabled by the Bevy Rapier plugin. Great. So I don't need to worry about that. Love that. Love not having to worry about the specific versions of things. Okay. I think I'm using a higher level thing than... So Glam is the underlying library in Bevy, but I'm using transforms, so not entirely sure how I'm supposed to like associate one with the other. Is it ISO? What's the field name? Position, collider position. Collider position is an isometry, right? Hey Chris, when is your paid Rust video course coming out? It's going to be a whole bunch of courses, so they will get released as they are polished up and finished. There is a 2048 course, which is all the videos are recorded and edited and ready to go. And then there are a couple of serverless courses that should be done this week. And then more courses will actually come out over the next couple months. So it's not just going to be one Rust course, it's going to be a whole bunch of courses. Collider position. New vector 2. Creating an isometry is way harder than I feel like it should be. Okay, so position is going to be a collider position. Is there an easy way to create one of these? New? Is there a new? Nope, there's no new. Impl bundle. Yep. Type into from components default. So let's just create the struct ourselves. Default. And then in here, we need what? The isometry or ISO field. Collider position. Collider position is a struct. That is what looks like a tuple. Oh no, is that just it's just an isometry and then a 2 usize? How do I construct an isometry without yada yada yada? From translation? Is there a from translation? From parts? I guess let's do from parts. Isometry from parts. From party. Yeah, from party. What was the field called? 50. Checking the field name 50 bajillion times. Collider position. Okay, so collider position is actually this tuple. Like that. And it's from parts. Can we use default here? I didn't check if there was a implementation for it. From parts is not right. So from parts is the isometry from parts. We need a translation and a rotation. A translation is going to be constructed by, like, I shouldn't have to create for, like, use from instead. Okay. I feel like I'm doing something wrong here because I feel like needing to go down into all of these different structs to create just one collider position isn't what I should be doing. Is there transform point, slurp, append, inverse, to matrix? Is there a from implementation from T? From collider position, or from T for collider position? Position T. Let's take a look at this. Cool. This is why your course is going to be helpful. For what? Because of all of these little things here. Like, I don't know. There's no like docs for how to create the collider position as far as I can tell. Rigid bodies, C inquiries, determinism. Determinism would be interesting if we ever got to the point where we were going to do networking. Specifically, I want to use rollback networking in a game pretty soon. So we'll see if we can work that in at some point. Okay, let's do a search for collider position and hope that they have collider position sync. Ooh. Oh no, that's for the debug stuff. Can I just add this component? Is that... Why is that not in? Okay, we're gonna try this for a second. Spawn bundle, insert. Oh no, I copied the whole insert. I swear, if they hid that in the debug stuff, well, now because I found it in the debug stuff, I'm not sure that I'm supposed to use it. It does look like I lost the platform. Did I remove that earlier? I don't think I did. Collider sprite bundle. Did I mess it up by adding that component? Oh, you know what happened? Okay. it moved the floor, because now there's the collider here, and the actual thing, the rendering the sprite is over there. But if I sync them like this, then the floor moves back to where the collider is. So the transform is no longer like I'm setting the transform when we start, but it is actually syncing with the collider position now. So that's good, because I guess I'll just get rid of that and let it sync like this. And I guess I don't really need it syncing constantly because it's always the same value. So I hope there's some optimization there. But that still leaves us needing to create this collider position. A common mistake, especially in 2D, is to use pixels as the length unit in the physics world. Let's say that in 2D you have a 100 by 100 pixel sprite for your player. It may be tempting to use a 100 by 100 cuboid collider for the sprite. Doing this will make it look like the simulation runs in slow motion because the cuboid will be huge compared to the magnitude of the default gravity. Okay, so that's a mistake I already made. The recommended way of using Rapier is to use SI units. Meters, seconds, kilograms. If the player sprite is a 100 by 100 cuboid, then it is as if your player is 100 meters tall and 100 meters wide, which is huge. Okay. Therefore, it is recommended to have a scaling factor between the graphics and the physics. So for example, we can say that 1 physics meter is equivalent to 50 pixels. Then we can initialize our player collider as a 2 by 2 cuboid while still using a 100 by 100 pixels sprite. Okay, so the sizes between the colliders and the cuboids and stuff and the actual pixels on the screen should not be really related in any direct way, I guess. Rapier configuration scale field to 50 so that the translational part of all the positions synchronized are automatically multiplied by 50 when they are written into the transform component. Okay, so it looks like we can actually fix the jump right now from reading that paragraph. Where is the player? Rigid body collider. We don't need the sprite bundle anymore because we have the sprite sheet, which is cool. Position sync discrete. The collider, I think I made the collider 50 by 50. So let's make this 2 by 2, which will make it behave very differently. And then we'll add this Rapier configuration scale and we'll set it to 25 or something like that. So let's see the, oh, we're falling through. Oh, okay. Corgi jumped. So now we're applying a lot of force. It's still going up. Just if anybody's curious. Okay, we're now about 300,000 meters in the air and still going up. I just launched that Corgi like a rocket. Okay, let's add this scale piece in. Scale 25, I think, is the appropriate scale here. Okay, where's the Rapier configuration then? That's not a component. For some reason, I thought it was a component. Is it scale on the collider? It's not scale on the collider. That corgi is out of here. Yeah, we're gonna need a second corgi. Can we get the backup corgi? Where am I supposed to put this scale? It says rapier configuration scale. So let's go try to find the rapier configuration. I don't think they ever talk about what that actually is. Gorgonauts. What's that game with the where you build the rockets and it's like all super realistic? You're like a little alien dude, I guess. I guess you're supposed to be like a human or whatever, but you're a little alien dude in my mind. Okay, rapier configuration scale is supposed to be what? Where? Like, where is that coming from? I have a feeling. Okay, there it is. So there's the struct. Where does this get used? A resource for specifying configuration information for the physics simulation. So maybe we can just create one and insert it as a resource and it'll get used by everybody. Physics plugin, no user data. Physics plugin. Physics plugin. Come on. Come on. Somebody tell me. Physics plugin. Responsible for setting up a full Rapier physics simulation pipeline and resources. Okay. I have a feeling this is parameterized over like the Rapier config, but it never says that. Kerbal Space Program? Yes. Corgo Space Program is the thing that was in my head. But instead of actually being a game about building rockets, we just launch Corgos into space. Okay, what is this user data supposed to be though? Is it the configuration? Or am I supposed to just add the Rapier configuration as a resource? Let's do default to start. And then we'll do scale 25. It's not yelling at me. Okay, so it is now very small and launching itself. Let's remove some of the. I thought 25 and 25. Oh, you know what? I think I need this to be 50 because the radius of the circle was 50 before. I don't know. It's getting stuck like right in the middle there, middle of the sprite. It looks like the corgi is just like hanging out on a tightrope or something. We can make this significantly less of an impulse though. So where's our impulse? We were applying 200,000 meters of y-directional force last time. Let's do 0 in that direction, and let's do like 20 or something. Something more reasonable. 20 meters of force. Is that a powerful corgi, right? Less powerful than 200, but like the ever so slightest jump there. Let's 10x that. It says SI units, but I still don't have an understanding of how they I also think that that resource is not actually getting used. There's a jump. Am I supposed to make this corgi like just exceptionally smaller? The jump is still super slow. Those little legs are powerful. I'm not sure that that resource is even getting used. I don't think it is. So like if I do this, I don't think that the scale there is getting applied. And there doesn't seem to be like a, hey, this is where you should put the configuration thing in the docs. Yeah, so we're seeing the exact same behavior here. So the rapier configuration doesn't go there. It says it was, or it said it was a resource, but I don't know that it means that it's like going to be used if I set it like that. Each rapier rigid body position will have its coordinates multiplied by the scale factor. So maybe it's not two. I have it at 50, right? Or I had it at 50. Yeah. So multiplying it by 50 should have like an observable effect, I feel like. So where does this go? Is it supposed to be the user data in the physics plugin? Like, I feel like of all the things that should be in the docs, setting up the configuration would be a big one. It's got to be there, right? It's got to be this Rapier physics plugin parameterized by like the Rapier config, right? Parameterized by the same user data as your physics hooks. Okay. What is user data though? User data is an arbitrary component type that you would like to access inside of the hook methods. Useful for example to access custom data attached to the entities to guide contact filtering. Okay, so that's not something I need yet. So where do we put the scale config? Does the collider have a thing that I should be using here? Collider bundle. Changes. None of these are a rapier config. I might resort to going to check the source code. Bevy Rapier. Let's find the GitHub. Dimforge is the people that make this and maintain it. I think they make a voxel based like kind of game. Don't remember exactly what it is. I don't want any of that. Give me the source code. Okay. So Rapier config. I misspelled that already, didn't I? Rapier configuration. You think the resource needs to be inserted after the plugin? I did have it before. So the physics plugin is down here, the render plugin is down here, and I had the resource before both of the Rapier plugins. So I guess the only other... Oh, you know what? I may have just... you may have just fixed my window config because I placed it in the wrong spot. But the Rapier one was in the right spot. No, that still doesn't. Create colliders, render system. There's the Rapier configuration, which is a resource, so it should get inserted. So inserting it like this seems like should work. It's inserted before the physics plugin. If you insert a resource twice, it will overwrite the first one. Not having any observable effect at the moment. So maybe I put it... Oh, maybe I put it after all of my physics stuff. Overwrite the default. Yeah, that's what... The order of the resource mattering. Oh, there it is. So that's where it needs to be. It's kind of unfortunate that that's not a thing that can be checked. Although I have noticed that Bevy is sort of like an outlier in terms of the amount of like, I don't want to call it runtime, but the amount of like dynamic type checking that goes on, or the dynamic behavior. It does a little bit more of that kind of thing than... Oh, did I just... Oh, I think I just sent the corgi like 50 bajillion light years to the right. So let's change the impulse here to something more like 10. Actually, the up, what am I doing the up here? The jump is 200. Let's make the jump a little smaller. After the plugin did work, just to confirm that. The order of that needing to be different, though, is very... Okay, that's the smallest little hop ever. I do feel like I want a little bit more of an impulse when we go left and right. Corky is on my screen now here in Florida. Are you saying you ran the code from the GitHub repo, or are you saying that the Corgi that we launched earlier made it to Florida? Okay, just pressed up. Let's make this back to 200. But yeah, Bevy does like runtime reflection of types and stuff like that. And this like query system seems very, ooh, that's still quite a bit of force. Okay, so let's bring all of that down. Let's do like 100 or like 50 maybe. Let's try 50. Let's bring this down to 20 maybe on the impulse. I just want to make it feel responsive. So like when you go left and right, I want it to have an initial burst of like, I'm going this way now. A little freaked out, but otherwise okay. Okay. So I do want to cap the inertia too at some point. Because like I feel like the short wave, like I'm going left or right, feels pretty good. But the doing, doing, doing. This is too much fun. Sorry. We need to jump a little bit higher, I think. I totally forget what I was going to say. I was having too much fun making a corgi jump and run around the screen. Oh, right. The inertia from the corgi going left or right from the force is infinitely high right now. And I didn't see anything to like. It feels a little slow in terms of jump. Maybe it doesn't. I think I want it to go higher, but I also want it to fall faster. Okay. We still haven't learned how to move that floor yet, but we did fix a little bit of the jumping, which I'm happy about. The Okay, so we're back to the collider position. Now that we're using the resource, we are back to the collider position. The collider position drives the... Because we added that other component, the collider position now drives where everything is on the screen, which means we need to figure out how to create a collider position in some way that is not like... So if we do collider position from, and we do like 50-50, there's no, yeah. I don't even know what it would like. It would have to be just like registered on the trait for arbitrary tuple sizes, which would be, I don't know, weird, I guess. We do need an isometry. We need an isometry with an N algebra unit, an F32, and a 2. And a 2? Why does that 2 U size in the type? Interesting. Okay, so let's go back to trying to figure out how to create an isometry. There's so many generics. Oh my god. I'm pretty sure I'm like 4 structures deep here. I'm like in the isometry, in the collider position, in the transform, in the translation, in the fromjector, which needs a matrix. Is the 2U size a const already given? That's a great question. The type for this translation, so it's 2U size, like just in here. You know what I bet that means? I bet you that's a constant for the 2D version of the translation. So I bet you all of these types are parameterized based on whether you're using the 2D or the 3D version. Because if we look at translation and we look at, I guess I'm in the Bevy 2D doc, so it's only going to show me the 2D translations. Let's see. 2U size. 2U size is not found anywhere. So they've got to be passing in 2 as a type? Because underscore U size is how you set the type of the number, right? So setting like, I forget what page we were on here. Setting like 1 underscore U size as a const. So const is a constant of some kind, probably. I'm not exactly sure how these types work out. Const R is a U size. And const is just a struct that is parameterized over a constant. This is a version of using constants that I haven't seen before. So we've got a public struct called const, which is a user-defined type that takes a type argument of a const R that is a U size. So what this is saying to me is that there's we're translating this into a const struct that we can use in types that we can define at compile time using a U size. So that's my guess. My guess is they're using the same types all over the place. And like the 2D version and the 3D version parameterize over this such that you can write a literal number in and it will flow through. So I think you're right, Rusty. They've somehow created type level integers by doing this, which is interesting because I don't think the rest of Rust has those. Or like nobody uses type level integers anyway. I do think that like basic games are pretty awesome for like getting people, especially visually oriented people, like JavaScript or front end web people into Rust. But there is a lot hiding under the hood here that like isn't stuff that you need to encounter if you're just writing like a serverless function or something, or like a CLI tool or something like that. I think physics is usually some really type level shenanigans. And like physical units and stuff like that. And then the ECS system in Bevy uses a reflection, or like a very sophisticated version of reflection as far as I can tell, which is also not something you really need to know about. But in Bevy, it's kind of nice that you can also kind of just ignore that. You can just kind of be like, ah, yes, Bevy knows what type this is and will give me things of that type. Okay, from usize, dim usize. So that's a const. Like me. Translation. Okay, so I still need to figure out how to construct an isometry. Can I do this from like two tuples or something? From a 2D vector and or an angle? I don't know why I just skipped this over earlier. So let's do collider position. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Collider position. I forget what the name of this one is. Fill struct fields. Oh, come on, Rust Analyzer. You can do it. I know you can. Nope, not rerouter record fields. Give me the stuff that I want here. I know that all my syntax is off. I know. I think I confused Rust Analyzer. Okay, so collider position default. Collider position needed what, an isometry and something else? An isometry and the 2 usize. I'm going to assume the 2 usize is not like something that I need to handle. Hub isometry. Oh no, okay, so the isometry includes the 2 usize. This is a single element tuple. Sorry, I don't know why I thought that was a 2 element tuple. So this is not that. This is a single element tuple where we can go isometry new, and isometry new takes a translation and an angle, which we also need to construct. Which I am super happy to know that we can do like this. We definitely don't need a fraction of pi here, so I'm just going to make this 0, I think. The vector 2 is something that we need to import. It doesn't like that for some reason. Because I messed up my syntax. What am I doing wrong here? Vector 2 new. Isometry new. Collider position. What am I doing here? What it's it takes a 2. Does it take a 2 element tuple or does it take 2 arguments? Looks like it takes 2 arguments. The angle and the translation. Oh, and isometry 2, that's why. Oh, that's one reason anyway. which I don't have in here. Okay, so isometry 2 is just the specific version of the isometry. The vector 2 is just the specific version of the vector that we're using. I think if we use the type aliases, that would still work out. I clearly messed up my syntax here somewhere. Position, collider position, open, open. Like that should be wrong, which is fine. Vector 2 new. I feel like I'm losing my mind here. Why is vector 2 new so angry? And why is it a syntax error? Vector 2 new 1.0, 2.0, wrapped in parens, new is this whole isometry. I feel like I'm missing a comma and I'm just not seeing it for some reason. Vector 2 new 1.0, 2.0. What is it expecting from me here? 124? I don't think 124 is actually the problem, is it? Oh my, what did I do down here? I accidentally copied pasted a bunch of stuff. Wow. Okay. Whoops. I don't know where that came from, but that was not great. How do you make the brackets color in pairs? That is probably some extension that I have. Let's see, what do I have here? Super Corgo run. And then the Corgi, I actually kind of like the Corgi dropping in at this point. Huzzah. The collider is still in the wrong place, but that's okay. Where are my extensions? Installed. I have an awk extension installed. Why? I don't write awk that often. It'll either be Rust Analyzer, which I think recently added bracket highlighting, or it'll be something else. Rainbow brackets is going to be what it is. Is it vec2? You think it's a vec2, not a vector 2? It's entirely possible. I think you're right, actually. No, the vec2 is a bevy struct. I'm looking for a bevy rapier or a rapier 2D struct. So I think it is going to be the vec2 or vector 2, whereas vec2 is a glam type, which is a different underlying library than the rapier library uses. It's possible I did just move it, by the way, because first of all, Rust Analyzer is confused because it still thinks that's a problem, but it's not. Somehow when I work, I do that quite a bit. I make Rust Analyzer pretty confused about what should actually be happening. Do we have both of these in now? We have ground number 2. Here's ground number 1. Let's uncomment ground number 1 so that we can see to make sure that there is a difference in the two of them. It doesn't look like there is much of a difference in the two of them. Sprite bundle 1005. So this Vec2 is a Bevy type, which is what you were referring to earlier. Or a Glam type, which is actually the library that powers that. The collider position is what I'm looking for, though. I want to make it sufficiently different that we can actually see it. Come on, Corgi. Was it too high now? There we go. Okay. So yes, I put the second floor is now over the top of the thing. Oh wow, it's 11:30. We've been going for 2.5 hours now. Yay, we have 2 floors now. The sprite size doesn't match the floor size, unfortunately. So what is this, 10? How do we translate the collider size into... Oh, you know what? If I make this 100, then it's going to be 100 times 10, maybe? I don't know which number that's going to multiply off of, whether it's the 25. If it's the 25, it's still going to be pretty big. Yeah, I think it is the 25, actually. I think we're scaling everything up now, and I didn't change this. So if we're scaling up, and we're scaling up at 25, this is 250. So this would be 250. I wonder if there's a way for me to get the collider size and to map that onto the sprite size. So theoretically, nope. Still a little bigger than I think it is. Come on, Corgi, you can do it. But we do have 2 platforms now. They're just not visually... That's where it starts right there. And what's really funny, actually, is that I can hold the Corgi against the side of this by holding right. That seems interesting. Okay, but that's good. I think there are there are clearly bugs. But we have a couple of platforms now. We have a Corgi running and jumping, and we fixed the jumping more or less. I think there's a bunch of fine-tuning that can be done here. For like how high the Corgi should jump, and like let's write a couple of issues right now, actually, so that I know what to work on next time. Fixed by adjusting the Rapier configuration scale resource. Resource must be inserted after initializing rapier. Multiple floors. We now have multiple floors. Although their sprites don't match the colliders. So let's do a new issue here, and let's say floor sprites should match collider size. See if I can take a screenshot of this while actually. There we go. Example of a floor collider that is larger than the visible area. Okay, it totally didn't upload that photo though, did it? There we go. What else do we need to fix? We need to... The camera is following the player, so this works now. Max speed is still uncapped. The floor level should be at the floor of the camera. We haven't fixed yet. Only single jump should be possible. We haven't fixed yet. The floor sprites. What else do we have here? What else do we need to do? The corgi sprite. Only faces one direction. And flashes with something random in the middle. So after we fix the floors, we can sort of create some gaps. I think that it's really important to fix like this left and right like speed thing going on here. Because right now I'm just applying force in every frame or every tick. And it allows you to just like accelerate so fast, it doesn't even make sense. Like, so that needs to be capped some way, and we haven't done that yet. But I think this max speed is capped or is uncapped is going to be the next priority. And then some kind of respawn functionality maybe. So like if you fail, you get sent back to the start of the level. I think we're only going to have one level for now. So I'm not going to implement like multiple levels until I get like the mechanics that are going to be used. Did you get the moonwalking? No. In here, I should also mention that. And moonwalks. So here are all of our sprite bugs. Floor sprites not matching collider size. Player sprite should be the party corgi. It is now. I'll close this because that works. Max speed uncapped. Floor of level should be at floor of camera. I don't know that we're gonna do this one. I think that futzing with the camera might not be like it'll give us more space to build more of a level going up. I'll leave this open for now. I think we will do this at some point, but I'm not going to prioritize it. I'm going to do it later. Respawn floor. A floor, the length of the entire level that is 10 pixels lower than the floor, so that if the corgi falls, it respawns. Start of level should not be able to go left of start of level. So implement some kind of wall. I think there's some kind of interesting mechanics around like the player hitting that wall and then going off screen for secret stuff. I don't know if we'll get that far because we have to implement like the camera staying but the player moving kind of things. So we'll see about that. I think that I do want. I don't know. How are we going to do enemies, right? We need to do some collision on enemies at some point. What's the most basic enemy we can have? Like, at first enemy. So like something you can't touch at all. Like a spiky ball or something like that. That just rolls towards you. When we hit a certain point in the level. So I'm thinking like we hit, you can create areas in Rapier. So when we hit a certain point in the level, that will trigger a spiky ball to come in from off screen, and you will have to jump over that spiky ball. Sounds like a good first mechanic. Sounds pretty simple to implement. And it sounds like it gets us into like some more of the Rapier library, which is something that, one of my goals for this is to learn Rapier much better. So I want to get into not just collision detection on the actual ball, but collision detection in the area to trigger the ball to come in. A leash for what? The corgi? What is the leash? um, like an enemy, like a leash as an enemy. So like, I don't know. I don't know how I would do that. Like an anthropomorphic leash that chases you down that you have to run away from. That seems like stretching it. I think a small ball with some spikes is going to be much more achievable. But I will keep leash in mind as like second enemy or something like that. Implement angled platforms. So some angled platforms for jumping on. Corgi ain't got time for no leash. We need some kind of like way to grab points, right? Like let's do something like implement hoops to jump through for points. Like the corgis racing around, right? What do you call those things when the dogs do them at competitions? Obstacle course. I'm thinking like the corgi doing an obstacle course or something like that might be a good way to fit into like the illusion of security somehow. Like the corgi starts the obstacle course and everything's safe and happy, and then like later in the obstacle course, like things start to be not just an obstacle course, but like spiky balls and like things attacking the corgi and things like that. I don't know. Maybe. Also add bones for collectibles. Collectibles? Bones? I like that. I like collectibles of some kind. I don't quite know how which one of these mechanics is all going to be included, but you know, first game jam, still figuring it out. Thoughts on only animating when moving? I like that. Possibly also the sprite moves faster if you're running faster. Although I suppose there's really only going to be one speed, right? Like you're either going to be stopped or you're going to be tapping left or you're going to be running full speed. Like I feel like platformers, you don't really spend a lot of time at not max speed. Flipping horizontally when changing direction. I think we have that already, actually. Corgi sprite only faces one direction. I think it needs to face the direction you're moving, for sure. Like, for sure, for sure. So that's quite a bit, actually. I think there's a bunch of these that are sprite related. I might try to find some other sprite resources for like hoops and spiky balls and stuff. I think Itch actually has resources like that, which is one of the reasons that this is on itch? Or is itch just, oh, there we go. Assets. So there's a bunch of stuff that I can figure out. I'll go around off stream and kind of like try to find a couple more assets, because I don't think I'm going to have time to actually do art for this. I feel like that's not really what I want to spend time on. But let's not tag this as 16-bit. How do I get off of that? Go back. Hoop. Bone. Oh, these are all tags. So I think the best way to get through this is going to be just like scrolling through a bunch of this stuff. And here's a pixel platformer thing that we could use. Oh, this even has like floors and stuff. I like this. I kind of like the pixelated vibe here. We could probably match the corgi to the size of the rest of this and make it fit in. I like the grass floors and stuff. I don't know how we're going to fill in the sprites behind the level, but I'll figure it out. That's another thing. We're going to need like a background at some point. Where's my issues? There we go. Background image, some like soft clouds or something. Parallax if we get super ambitious. I know there is actually a Bevy parallax plugin that I could go try to use, so maybe parallax won't be that actually awkward. I think we just need a repeating image. Art assets for floors and other things. Let's take a look at this. Possibly some of these or something else from itch.io. I think I can purchase like some pixel platformer stuff kind of thing. We'll need spiky ball, we'll need hoop, we'll need like stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's it for today. I feel like we got a decent amount done. I'm pretty happy with like the fact that we are actually using a corgi. I'm pretty happy with the fact that we fixed the jumping. We still have the double jump, but that's okay. I think it'll feel much better. I'll make the corgi probably a little smaller. The corgi feels pretty gigantic. And then we'll be able to fix some of these floors so that they actually are where, because like right here, if I try to jump, it, yeah. So we'll see if we can fix some of these sizing issues. The sprite going back and forth and jumping is going to be a big one. Only running the sprite while running will be an interesting challenge. I feel like that's not going to be terribly hard, but we'll find out. And then yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with where we got to on this. Like I've never built like a 2D platformer before, and I've never used Rapier, so I'm reasonably happy with the progress so far. So thanks everyone for hanging out. And I will probably be back at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I think I'm going to do this every day for the rest of the week until the game jam is over. And hopefully I will have something worth submitting at the end. It is possible that I will not, but hopefully I will have something that is like, here's a level and a corgi and some stuff happening, and yeah, I have no idea. We'll find out.